Now, some of those cattle farmers who overwhelmingly did support the president in last year's election are making clear that they do not agree with his plan.
Consumers will tell us when the beef is too high. I think it's outlandish for the president to come out and say the beef is too high and he's going to get it down himself. What is his problem with higher priced beef? Because consumers have a choice in proteins. There's chicken, there's pork, there's all different proteins. Consumers have chose to buy beef. President Trump ran on being a free market guy. So what he was saying last week goes totally against what he ran on.
Man, them farmers. First it was soybean coming on here bitching and moaning, and now it's all the cattle ranchers. They're talking about Argentine beef, and why would we buy Argentina's beef? We need to sell the beef here. Dear DEER, Mr. President, why are you doing this to us? We voted for you. You know what? I have good news for the cattle ranchers, though. It may seem like a dark time, but I have good news. The silver lining is maybe at the end of this, you'll be invited to the ballroom. Maybe you'll get to go to that $250 million ballroom. Maybe, just maybe, he'll invite your manure-smelling ass to the ballroom. And then all this will be water under the bridge, and you can go kiss your daddy's ass like you have for the last decade. Because Donald Trump is for the farmers. He's for the ranchers, right? Isn't that why he gave Argentina, America first? He gave Argentina $40 billion.
Well. Look who's got beef with the man they thought was the cowboy of capitalism. That's right, the MAGA cattle ranchers are mad at Trump. And honestly, it's about time. Because apparently, the man who's never cleaned a stable, fixed a fence, or even seen a cow that wasn't on a dinner plate, now believes he knows more about ranching than the people who actually do it for a living. Trump basically looked these ranchers dead in the eye and said, "Your businesses are failing because you don't know how to ranch." I'm sorry, what? That's like Gordon Ramsay telling a farmer how to milk a cow because he once had a glass of milk in 1982. And then, as if that wasn't insulting enough, he starts bragging about importing beef from Argentina, a country that's literally begging for economic mercy. And you know Trump, he loves people on their knees, if you catch my drift. Yeah, this man's turning foreign desperation into a business model. Now here's the comedy in all of it. These are the same ranchers who voted for him, not once, not twice, but 3 times. They wore the hats, waved the flags, and convinced themselves that Trump was the second coming of John Wayne. But surprise, surprise, turns out the Duke of Debt doesn't ride for free. He's the cowboy who sold the cattle and blamed the rancher. And here's the part I can't get over. They're shocked. Like genuinely stunned. They're out here saying things like, "I can't believe Trump would do this to us." Really? You can't believe that the guy who bankrupts casinos, steals classified documents, and confuses sympathy with narcissism might not have your best interests at heart? That's like being surprised the bull kicked you when you've been pulling its tail for 8 years straight. But hey, I'm not here to hate, I'm just here to narrate. And today's story is juicy, tender, and medium well done, straight from the grill of economic karma. Now, before we dive into the absurdity, I gotta take a second to thank the real ones, my OG viewers. You guys keep the channel alive, the lights on, and most importantly, my caffeine addiction fully funded. You show up every time, watching to the end, liking the videos, dropping those comments that keep me cackling at 2 a.m., and even sending those super thanks that remind me maybe humanity isn't completely lost. Seriously, you're the MVPs of FAFO season. Without you, I'd be out here yelling into the digital void like a MAGA uncle at Thanksgiving. And for all the new faces joining us, welcome to the community. Around here, we study the MAGA mind with curiosity, sarcasm, and just enough compassion to keep our sanity intact. And by now, it's no secret that it's the coffee that keeps me going. So tighten your saddles and check your spurs, because we're about to ride straight into the corral of confusion. The ranchers are ranting, and Trump's out here herding them straight into bankruptcy. Let's dive into the madness, partner. Roll the clips.
Holy cats, what a kick in the nuts! The president is now blaming farmers and ranchers for the price of groceries. He says the price of groceries are high because they don't know how to run their businesses. Whew, talk about insult to injury. Did you vote for that? Did ya? Wow.
You guys, I can't stay quiet about this. The talk about importing more foreign beef to help lower beef prices, that's not the solution. It's the same failed policy that's already hurt rural communities, shrunk our American cow herd, and handed even more control of our food supply to big corporations. Right now, the 4 big packer companies are already importing beef from like 20 different countries, including Argentina. They're allowed to sell that beef right beside American beef without a label telling you the difference in the grocery stores. Without mandatory country of origin labeling laws, you as a consumer have no way to know where your beef came from. And that's exactly how the packers like it. More imports won't fix the problem. They'll make it worse. Every pound of foreign beef that's brought in weakens our own cattle industry and puts our nation's food security further at risk. If you care about keeping America's food supply strong and supporting American ranch families, the best thing you can do is be buying ranch direct. Obviously, we'd love for that to be from us at Diamond H Ranch. But even if it's not from us, find a rancher you trust and support them. When you buy ranch direct, your money is going directly to a hardworking American ranch family, and that's the future of American beef. So buy direct, and even better, take a minute to call or email your senators and representatives, tell them to oppose any increase in beef imports from Argentina, and to stand up for American ranchers. It really does make a difference. Let's put America's cattle industry first. More imports aren't the answer. You are.
As a producer, I want a fair and open, thriving market that people have to compete for my life's work. And that's all I expect. I don't want a subsidy. I don't want a handout. I just like to be an American, raise an American product, and have it competed for.
Earl voted Trump twice, but doesn't think the president's plan to import cattle from Argentina to boost inventory puts America first.
Most Americans don't know 4 companies own 85% of the processed meat in this country. 2 of those 4 are foreign companies.
You've got to love folks like Earl and the lady who spoke right before him. I mean, bless their hearts, because they are committed to the bit. Earl, for instance, has voted for Trump twice, and somehow still thinks the man's going to ride in on a golden tractor and save the American farmer. Now, leave aside the fact that this isn't even the first time Trump's screwed farmers over. Earl truly believes Trump cares about giving them free markets. Free markets? From the same guy who throws tariffs around like confetti at a wedding? The same guy whose entire understanding of economics comes from yelling the word deal into a microphone? Let's jog the memory here. This is the same Trump whose son reportedly made over $80 million in crypto after Daddy Dearest conveniently threatened tariffs against China just weeks before. You don't need a PhD in finance to connect those dots. That wasn't free market capitalism. That was good old-fashioned inside trading in a red tie. And let's not forget the meme coin fiasco. Yeah, Trump launched a rug pull coin on his own supporters, hyped it up, cashed out millions, and left thousands of MAGA faithful holding the bag, literally holding the digital bag. But sure, this is the guy who's going to protect the farmers from global manipulation? Pfft, please. The only market he's freeing is the one inside his family group chat. Yet here's the twist. They still believe. They'll defend him at the county fair, at church, at the feed store, anywhere. The level of denial is almost admirable. You could show them the receipts, the bankruptcy filings, and a live video of Trump saying, "Yeah, I took your money," and they'd still say, "Well, at least he tells it like it is." That's the power of the cult, when the grift becomes gospel. And in just a second, I'm going to show you a clip that explains exactly why these folks keep voting for him. But for now, you just have to appreciate the irony. They want free markets, from a man who keeps selling them the same cow under a different name. You gotta love the delusion. It's the only thing in MAGA country still turning a profit.
Farmers don't vote
for Trump or for conservatives in general because they're ignorant or because they don't know any better. They do it because they're rich. The GOP and Trump have always promised to cut taxes for the wealthy, to lower or loosen regulations, and to make up any shortfalls by cutting services for other people, for working class people, for lower class people. The median farmer net worth in the United States is over $1 million. That's the median. It's not the average that's jacked up by a few outliers. Like, that is the median. Their incomes are far higher, like the household incomes, far higher than the median household income for people in the United States. Farmers are sophisticated, well-moneyed people who know exactly what they're doing. They vote Republican because they want to keep their tax breaks. They want lower taxes on their income. They want to lower or get rid of the estate tax, like all the taxes that apply to rich people. They did this for purely selfish reasons and knew exactly what they were getting into. And they assumed that those benefits would outweigh whatever chaos Trump created in the markets, with the export markets, tariffs, whatever, and assumed that they would probably get some kind of bailout from that too, which they very likely will. So no, this is not something that can be attributed to ignorance or stupidity. This is malice. Now that's a different perspective, wouldn't you say? I mean, look, I get it. Not everyone in the MAGA ranch crowd is working with the full tool set. Some of them are definitely missing a few wrenches from the mental toolbox, and you can tell the moment they start talking. But what that last guy just said, it actually made sense. Because seriously, why would you keep voting for the same man who's been screwing you over for years unless, deep down, you like the socialism you pretend to hate? I mean, let's call it what it is. These folks talk big about free markets and small government, but they love a good bailout more than a preacher loves a microphone. They'll swear on their last dusty red hat that they're not about handouts, but when the bailout checks roll in, they cash them faster than they can say fake news. And here's where it really clicks. The median net worth for farmers in this country is over $1 million. That means most of these MAGA ranchers aren't broke. They're just broke on camera. That also means they qualify for the same tax breaks that rich people get, which explains why they keep riding this rodeo with Trump. He gives them the illusion of victimhood while quietly slipping them billionaire perks. It's like economic cosplay. Play poor, vote rich, complain loud. And that's exactly why you should stop feeling sorry for them. Because every time you see one of those teary TikToks, you know, the ones with a farmer standing in a field saying, "We're losing everything," just remember, that guy probably owns 3 tractors, 2 trucks, and a house worth more than your lifetime earnings. They're not struggling, they're strategizing. They're voting for policies that make you pay more while pretending to suffer for the camera. Then, after putting Trump back in office, the same man who slapped tariffs on everything from feed to fertilizer, they'll turn around and say, "Support local farmers. Buy American." Buddy, I'd love to buy American if I didn't have to take out a loan for a T-bone. So no, it's not patriotism. It's profitism, and it's working exactly as designed. Trump screws them, they blame Democrats, and the rest of us get stuck paying higher prices for their freedom. Insanity on a platter. Medium rare, just how MAGA likes it.
Beef isn't too expensive. Your priorities are. Everyone's crying that beef prices are too high while they're sipping a $7 Starbucks, 13 McDonald's who know what's in it meal and scrolling TikTok on a $1,200 phone. And here's the truth, over 20% of beef sold in America is imported from countries where cattle are raised cheap, fast, and dirty. Dirty caca. So when people say American beef is too expensive, what they really mean is I'd rather eat mystery meat from Brazil than pay a U.S. rancher a fair wage. Let's talk numbers. A family of 4 can eat regeneratively raised Wagyu, yep, the expensive stuff, for less than $10 per person per meal. That's less than what most folks blow on drive-through meals, soda, and snacks every single day. You don't have a beef problem, you've got a Doritos and DoorDash problem, which $10 is the tip you give the DoorDash driver after all the fees from the meal you already spent another fortune on. You could feed your family for a week on a single Wagyu roast, ground beef, and a few eggs from your neighbor. But somehow, $9 for a pound of real beef is too much. Meanwhile, medical bills for diabetes, inflammation, and hormone issues, those are apparently affordable. So here's the math. Pay your rancher now or pay your doctor later. Either way, you're going to pay somebody. And if I can raise Wagyu, the most premium beef in the world, regeneratively, without hormones, without chemicals, and still beat the weekly average grocery store bill feeding a family of 4, then don't tell me you can't afford to support your local farmer or rancher. You just can't afford to keep making excuses. Beef isn't expensive, ignorance is. Support the people feeding you, not the corporations fooling you.
Excuse me, ma'am. I don't know who you are, but let me just start by saying this. Leave coffee out of this. You can talk tariffs, you can talk beef, you can even talk about American values, but the moment you come for my caffeine, we're gonna have a problem. But seriously, how in the world are you gonna sit there, wag your finger at struggling Americans, and try to guilt trip them into buying your overpriced beef? Like, what's the logic? Support American farmers, or you're a bad person. Meanwhile, half the country is juggling rent, utilities, and student loans like it's the Hunger Games. Who elected you, Dave Ramsey in a cowboy hat? She's yelling about financial responsibility like she's hosting a MAGA masterclass on budgeting, while completely ignoring the fact that not everyone has the luxury of dropping $25 on a steak. Does she even know what people's budgets look like right now? Most folks are deciding between gas and groceries, not filet mignon versus ribeye. You can't afford beef because you're not pulling yourself up by your bootstraps. Oh yeah, because clearly the reason Americans can't afford steak is moral weakness, not inflation, not tariffs, not Trump's little Argentina first deal. Nope. It's all about them lazy, bootless liberals. Classic MAGA logic. Blame the poor for being broke and the rich for not being Trump. Here's the truth, sweetheart. If Argentina's beef is cheaper and safe, I'm going with Argentina. I'll take that affordable steak, grill it up, and enjoy it with a fresh cup of coffee. The one you tried to shame me for. Because you know what's patriotic? Not going broke over dinner. And judging by the comment section, I'm not alone. People get it. Everyone wants to support America, but nobody wants to get scammed in the name of nationalism. Especially when local farmers keep jacking up their prices so high that buying local costs the same or more than grabbing it at the grocery store. So tell me, what's the point of driving 2 hours to a farm just to pay more for the same thing? That's not supporting America. That's subsidizing delusion. Sorry, but if it's between broke patriotism and affordable protein, I'm picking steak. And a refill on my coffee.
Picture this. You've got a president sitting in the White House right now who's already crapped all over the veterans. He's already crapping on the farmers. He's destroying the soybean market, which China was a big part of, like it or not. They definitely were. And now he's turning around and telling ranchers, cattle ranchers in particular, the only reason you're successful is because of me. My tariffs brought peace to the world and peace in the Middle East. He's talking about a ceasefire that lasted, 3 days? 4 days? There's been dozens upon dozens of people getting killed, and he's still taking credit for it. What ceasefire? I don't see a ceasefire in place. Let's go back to the cattle rancher, though. These guys have worked their whole lives. They're generational farms, they're generational ranches, and he's taking credit for any type of success they have. It's only because of him and his tariffs that have saved them. Yeah, that's right. You don't know what the hell you're doing because you've only done this for 40, 50 years, and you did it after your father and after your grandfather. Generational farms, generational ranches. And he's sitting in the White House behind the Resolute desk inside the Oval Office taking credit for your work. And you know what the saddest part is? Now, I hate to say this, but you voted for him. Every one of you stood up there and said, but you told us you loved us. Now we need to see the fruits of your love. Well, you're saying that now, but you weren't saying that last year around this time, were you? Everybody kept listening to Donald Trump talk about how Joe Biden's ruined the economy, destroyed the economy. You better go back and start looking at the numbers again, because if it wasn't for Joe Biden, the soybean market would have still been shipped after Trump's first term in office. Because they were during his first term, if you recall, he had to bail out the farmers to the tune of $23 billion, billion with a B. Now they're looking at what, $15 billion? And the number keeps going up and up. And he's going to take credit for being able to bail you out. He still doesn't understand that these tariffs get passed along to us, the consumer. And there's a lot of people out on the MAGA side saying, no, that's not true. I just saw messages about the other day. China pays those. Well, why would China pay an import tariff? The importer in this country imports products. They pay the import tariff. They pass it along to the wholesaler, who passes along to the retailer. Do you think he's going to eat that cost? They might absorb a little bit of it. They can for a while. The bigger box store companies can. But the mom and pop shops that count on these imports, they're not going to make it. They're already starting to close down. We've got farmers around here that are already talking about selling their land because they can't afford to. They can't afford to even just keep their beans in storage. They have to sell their product to get ready for the next season. And he's taking credit for all of this. Well, he better take credit for it because he's ruining people's lives right now. Well, he's trying to take credit for telling you that you were never a success. You were never successful until I came along. What does he know about farming? What does he know about ranching? He didn't even know the word grocery still existed. People go to grocery stores every day. And he thinks he came up with a new word? That's a special kind of stupid.
Trump told the cattle ranchers to get and like it. And when they all started whining about him importing Argentinian beef, let's get into it. So this account here, Merriweather Farms, they've been over on Twitter kissing Trump's ass for years. I'm going to get out of the way, pause it so you can read it all, and then I'll get my fat face back in here. We love and support you, POTUS, but your suggestion to buy beef from Argentina, blah, blah, blah. I love this part too. On top of all of this, the only chaos is coming from the Department of Agriculture. There is no true guidance, mismatching the copious amounts of photo ops. The cattle ranchers are pissed, and Trump could give a fuck less. Here's what he told the cattle ranchers after they were whining about him importing the beef. The cattle ranchers don't understand that the only reason they are doing so well for the first time in decades is because I put tariffs on the cattle coming into the United States. If it weren't for me, they would be doing just as they've done for the past 20 years. Terrible. Let's see what the cattle ranchers associations think about it and how well they're doing. This is a tweet from the National Cattlemen's Beef Association. Cattlemen and women cannot stand behind President Trump while he undercuts the future of family farmers and ranchers by importing Argentinian beef. It is imperative that POTUS and Secretary Collins lets markets work without interference. If the administration is truly an ally of America's cattle producers, we call on him to abandon this effort to manipulate markets and focus on these things. It don't sound like they're doing too well to me, does it? I love nothing more than when he pisses in his supporters' faces and tells them to enjoy it. He tells them they're doing great when they're not doing great. It's what he does to the entire fucking country all the time. So I fucking love it when his supporters get it thrown right in their fucking faces what is happening in this country. And then they want to whine and cry about it. Look, let me tell you something. You don't owe these people any empathy. No one who voted for Donald Trump deserves your empathy. If they're losing their farms, if they're losing their ranches, if they're losing their health care, if they're losing their food assistance, they do not deserve your empathy. They show no one else any empathy. These people, these ranchers, these farmers, none of these Trump voters gave a fuck if he was harming other people. So do not give them the empathy that they do not deserve.
These farmers don't deserve empathy, and I've got 3 very solid reasons why. But before we break out the world's smallest violin, let's just take a moment to appreciate the theatrics. Because every time they feel even slightly threatened, like Trump might actually not bail them out this time, they suddenly turn into soft-spoken diplomats. You know the tone. Sir, we agree with you on 99% of your policies. It's just this one little thing we could maybe adjust. Respectfully, sir. They say it with that same trembling, fake humility like they're auditioning for American Idol, the kneeling edition. Because they know, if they're not on their knees, just the way Daddy likes it, things can get ugly real fast. JD Vance, Trump's deputy in training, literally has a company buying up farmland from the same people losing it. And yet these folks are still smiling like it's a partnership. That's not a partnership. That's predatory capitalism in a cowboy hat. Here's the deal. These farmers knew exactly what they were doing. They voted for the party that caters to the rich, and now they're shocked that the rich got richer. You can't act surprised when the wolf you fed decides to eat. And if by some miracle they didn't know what they were doing, they were warned, loudly, repeatedly, in every language except denial, which coincidentally is the only one MAGA speaks fluently. Second reason, they're not broke, not even close. These folks aren't out here wondering how to pay next month's rent or deciding between gas and groceries. They've got assets, land, equipment, savings, things they can liquidate faster than a Trump LLC. They'll bounce back. The only thing they're really losing is the illusion of being the victim. And the third reason? Straight from the MAGA gospel itself. Empathy is wicked and demonic. Their words, not mine. So let's not go handing them what they've spent years calling evil. They don't want compassion, they want validation. And I say, let's give them exactly what they voted for. If that means Argentina becomes great again while American ranchers eat humble pie, well, who are we to interrupt the Lord's work? Maybe before we make America great again, we gotta make Argentina and Brazil great first. Global MAGA, baby. So, what do you all think? Drop it in the comments. Are we watching Divine Justice or just another episode of You Get What You Vote For? If you made it to the end, you, my friend, are a true patriot. Caffeinated, logical, and allergic to nonsense. Don't forget to smash that like button, send a super thanks if you're feeling generous, and I'll catch you in the next MAGA mental meltdown. And remember, empathy's overrated, but coffee? Never.